Welcome to Political Beatdown. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Michael Cohen. How are the Beatdown Brigaders doing today? You know, Michael Cohen, in the past 48 hours, Donald Trump claimed not just that we brought in $17 trillion, it then turned into $18 trillion earlier this week. And today he claims that he brought in $20 trillion. Wow, just $1 trillion every day, just magically appearing, and corporate news twiddles its thumb and says, "Oh, I guess so." It's, I think about the Bernie Madoff Ponzi scheme, $64 billion, the biggest Ponzi scheme in history. Donald Trump, in plain view, is talking about 20 trillion fake dollars. And corporate news just goes along with it. That's just Donald being Donald. Really? I mean, you don't think that you have an obligation to call this out? And then Donald Trump had this bizarre press conference on IVF and Trump babies. Like all of his cabinet people, like, we got the Trump babies coming. By the way, Trump's promise during the campaign was not that there would be discount or they'd have an executive order to then negotiate with a pharmaceutical company. The promise was free IVF for anybody who wants it. That was the promise. That's not a promise kept. And so when they go, "Oh, he did what he said he was going to do," no, he didn't. And as he keeps saying, "Oh, I'm reducing prescription drug prices," it's already happened. I've reduced them by 1,600%. The American people are suffering. The American people know this is BS unless you're total MAGA mush brained up. If you walk outside your house, you know that this ain't the golden age unless you're a Trump billionaire. But here's Trump moments ago talking about $20 trillion now, 20 trillion. So, soon as it's going to be 40 trillion, 100 trillion, just stupid. Here, play this clip.
Maria, can you imagine? 4 years, less than one. We're going to break $20 trillion of investment, and we're already over 17 trillion, and that's in 8 months. Can you believe that? And he was at less than 1 trillion. And in addition to that, he had open borders, allowing millions of people to pour in. What an administration that was. Worst president in history.
It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable, Ben. We're just shy of 11 months. Actually, I think we're exactly 10 months into the presidency. And there's so much happening every single day, whether it's the war between Israel, Hamas, the war, Russia, and Ukraine, the 7 other wars that he stopped, tariff wars. There's so much going on right now. And yet, the only thing that he concentrates on in basically every speech, or whether he's there in the Knesset, it doesn't matter. It's just how bad the previous administration was. It's truly an attempt to rewrite history in his vision. Fine. Let's just ask him to stop talking about Joe Biden. Let's ask him to stop talking about Barack Obama. Fine. Let's just all make him happy and concede that they were the 2 worst presidents in U.S. history. Now tell us what you're going to do for us. Tell us how you're going to stop this trade war that's costing Americans a fortune of money. Let's move on. Let's not worry about, yesterday, which you cannot change. And let's talk about tomorrow. Let's talk about reopening the government. Let's talk about releasing the Epstein file in its entirety. Let's talk about California and how to turn the water back on so that we don't have another natural disaster ever again. Let's do something so that we, the American people, benefit from it, instead of him just, making up these ridiculous statements every single day and just playing with everybody's mind.
Look, on the California thing, he made up the lie that he magically turned on a faucet in Northern California. He believes that in the Northwest California borders Canada, that's what he believes, and that he turned on a magic faucet and that put out the wildfires. But for him doing that, much more of LA would have burned. And he said that Gavin Newsom was so focused on the smelt fish, that's why the fires were able to take hold, and it's all about turning on the faucet. I mean, it's just the level of the lies reach areas that are so the psychological trick that I think is there that Goebbels and propagandists of the past realized. And it's hard to do it because most human beings are unable to lie this way. I mean, if I lie a little bit, I feel very guilty about the smallest lie. So it's hard just to go up and just make things up.
You know what's really funny though, Ben? You know what's really funny is if we can go back and just play the video that you showed a second, I want people to remember what he does in order to validate the lie. Can't even call this a misstatement because it's a blatant lie. We did not take in $20 trillion. What he does is he gets somebody, he names them, and then he turns around and he goes, right? Can you believe it? He's right. Ben, can you believe I just got a contract to play starting quarterback for the New York Giants?
Right.
$1 trillion a year they're going to pay me to come out of retirement and to be the quarterback for the Giants. Right, Ben? I mean, you saw that, right, Ben?
Right. You know, we broke the story on the Midas Touch Network that Trump was going to be having these Navy warships use live munitions and potentially be shooting them into Camp Pendleton, which could shut down the I-5. That would be Saturday, the same time the No Kings protest was going on. And there really wasn't much like of a denial per se. I mean, they're doing live munitions. I guess the Trump response is this is how they said it. They said this is regular. This is something that normally happens. It's going to be done within the contained zones, and this is just a regularly scheduled event that the Navy and the Marines normally engage in. Now, the wild thing when they put out a statement like that and they lie about everything, right, is that yet again, you know, what's that website, Snopes or whatever it is, you know, and these fact checkers are like, well, what did Trump say? What did the Marines say? And then, because then they go, well, Gavin Newsom amplified what Midas Touch reported. He's the governor of California, and he did not know the full extent of the events taking place in California. And yes, it would concern a governor that live munitions from the Navy would be shot in the territory where the governor governs. And let me ask this, if this was some regularly scheduled event, why wasn't it announced in a
but when has it ever been a schedule? When has something like this ever taken place? When was the last time
but here's the thing, Cohen, even you know the fact checker, right, adopts the language of Trump and says, well, it's regular. I'm like, are you using critical thinking skills? When was it announced then? If you actually think that this was did this happen every year? Did you want to maybe look when the 250th anniversary of the Marines is? Because maybe if you did a modicum of freaking research, rather than just say Donald Trump said, you would find out that the Marine Corps anniversary is November 10th. You would also find out that this event taking place on the No Kings protest day was never announced before. They mentioned it last Friday briefly, but when they started talking about live munitions and what's happening, it started to be announced yesterday, and the Midas Touch Network reported on it first. You know, and then you've got people, Cohen. And
by the way, speaking about firsts, I did turn around and tell you that the third person indicted was going to be John Bolton. I actually predicted all three in its order so far. And to those of you who are going to try to hate on Michael Cohen and say, no, you didn't. Yes, I did. You can go back and see my predictions, even here or on MSNBC. I told you he was just indicted. And you know what? There's many, many more to come.
Cohen, I saw that the red folder was handed. Did they officially just open it up during the?
Yeah.
Yep. So once we have more details there, you know, we'll report on that probably right after the first break. But it does bring me to the point I want to make, though, because, you know, there was an overwhelming amount of people, especially on Threads. I don't know why, particularly on Threads of all places, but, you know, and Blue Sky, who responded to our accurate reporting, Cohen, and they would say, "Oh my gosh, Midas Touch is doing rage bait." You know, when we talked about this is rage bait and it's inappropriate. And I say to that, I wish it was rage bait. Trust me, I wish it wasn't real. I wish this was rage bait. But guess what? When Michael Cohen and I warned you that Trump was sending the military into blue states and blue cities, you know what you said? Rage bait. That's not going to happen. When we said Project 2025 was real and it was going to dismantle the government, oh, that's rage bait. Why are you doing this, Midas? When we said he was going to overturn Roe v. Wade with that right-wing Supreme Court, what did we hear from rage bait? He's not going to do it. Roe v. Wade is precedent. That's never going to happen. I don't get at what level, when there's a freaking gun to your head, do you go, oh, probably not. You'll probably still be yelling rage bait until the freaking trigger is pulled, like for real. I mean, we are living in, like, I don't know what world and experience these other people.
Dystopia. It's dystopia. This is Gilead. I mean, if anybody hasn't watched that Netflix show, I think it's on Netflix, right? The Handmaid's Tale. Well, you should, because that's what we're doing. Eventually, you're going to see the commanders. It's going to be like Commander Stephen Miller, right? And then you're going to see like Commander Pete Hegseth, and it's going to be nuts because they don't believe in rule of law. They don't believe in process. Okay, I'm sorry, Hulu. They don't believe. I don't want to take that away from Hulu, right? Isn't that an ABC Disney ownership? So I'll take it away from Hulu. But they don't want to see our rights continue. I mean, it's literally Project 2025. I know that Ben and I, after the two of us read that 922-page manifesto, a manifesto on how to destroy America's Democratic Republic, we turned around and we said, please do not, under any circumstances before the election, do not ignore this concept of Project 2025. This is the entire basis of what the next 4+ years is going to be all about. And lo and behold, right? Lo and behold, like fucking Harry Potter poofing out something with his wand. That's exactly what's happening right now. And when you have the president of the United States calling out Russell Vought and thanking him for his service, when you have him turning around and making jokes about Stephen Miller at a press conference in the Oval, you really got to turn around and you say, we're in some serious, serious trouble. And that's why we all need to stick together. We need to unite as one big giant group and then just say, you know what? Enough is enough.
You know, during the campaign, when we would report, hey, he's saying mass deportations for everyone, he's going to take away your temporary protected status. You know, what'd you hear? Not me. He's just going after the criminals. Stop your rage bait, Midas Touch. And here we are, though, Cohen, and this is a serious issue. Like, it was an interesting experience, you know, breaking that story, you know, and it just always fascinates me because we break the story, then corporate news picks it up after. None of them give credit to Midas Touch. It's fine, you know. I don't care about the credit, but like zero say where the story originated from, who broke it first. They then start citing each other, so you see that broken environment. Now, look, it wasn't even the Trump people who were really denying our story. It was actually people who you would think would be sympathetic ideologically to the story in many ways. You know, it's actually people who you would think would be on your team who would go out there and shoot their mouth and say, oh, this is rage bait taking place, just Midas Touch. And I'm just thinking, the military is in Chicago, okay? The Texas National Guard was sent to invade a blue city. Trump, which, by the way, was blocked by the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals earlier today with a Trump judge, a George H.W. Bush judge, and an Obama judge in a per curiam decision. They blocked what Donald Trump did there with the National Guards. He sent the troops to Portland, Oregon. where it was blocked there by a Trump-appointed judge. He sent the troops to California. So why, when I'm reporting, that he's shooting missiles into Camp Pendleton, are you like, whoa, he would never do that? What do you mean he would never? Donald Trump, the guy's out there blowing up Venezuelan fishing boats and Colombian fishing boats and posting death videos of people. Like, what country, for real, what country do these people live in?
When was the last time that we here in the United States shot off a rocket, a missile, onto our own territory? Regardless of whether it's for a 250th anniversary, 100th anniversary, when was the last time any single one of you remember that we actually fired onto our own property? And it reminded me of a story, and I've told the story, so to those of you who've heard me say it before, I apologize, but it is so funny. Ben, you remember they used to have those rockets, and I know you folks probably got it for you when you were a little kid, made by Estes, right? They were the rockets you launch in your backyard, or you're really supposed to do it like in a school playground so that you don't do like what I do. They fall over to the side, and I shot it through my next door neighbor's window, right? What happens if hypothetically this rocket, this missile that they're shooting to Camp Pendleton? By the way, it has to land. It's not like it's going to land on a pillow or one of those, like when somebody jumps off a building and it catches them, one of those air mattresses. It's going to land somewhere. What if it hypothetically goes off track? I mean, it is only predicated on technology. What if it goes wrong? What if it goes wrong and goes right through somebody's house? Or multiple houses? I mean, this to me, I think, is one of the stupidest ideas I've seen yet. You know what? I thought it was a terrible idea when they decided to have a military parade. Yeah, that's just stupid. This one goes beyond that. This is idiotic to shoot a rocket from a vessel, from a floating vessel onto land. I'm sorry, nothing good could possibly come from it.
And again, this happens at the same time. The criminal docket has now been opened on the John Bolton criminal case. He has, as you noted, was officially indicted. A grand jury in Maryland indicted him. So you now have Bolton, New York Attorney General Letitia James. You've got James Comey. You've got those three. And he's going to continue to go on. Adam Schiff,
well, now you have,
Christopher Wray, whoever, he's got a list of people that he's telling the team, indict. And I agree with you, Cohen. I think every day, it's going to start accelerating in a rapid pace also. You'll start seeing indictment of a new person. We know that they've also basically restructured the entire IRS to go after any groups that they consider to be democratic or which, by the way, is a violation of federal law, to go after individuals, to go after organizations, to go after nonprofits. And they just say they're going to do it. Like, there's not a denial. Like, there is a, yes, this is what we are doing, which is a violation of lots of federal laws. And ultimately what their plan is and why they look like they don't care if the country hates them is because, as they see it, the Supreme Court's going to completely destroy the Voting Rights Act. That what they will then do in all of their red states is impose racist, discriminatory maps. They'll get rid of all Black representation, all Latino representation. They'll carve out the states in ways that will just lead to no Democratic seats at all. If there is a Republican governor, they don't care if they violate the law. And their plan is, we're done with America. Like, you have to understand what their plan is. The America you knew as a democracy, their plan is they want it to be Russia. They want it to be Viktor Orban's Hungary. What they want to do is get rid of the entire system because they want their authoritarian, they want their king. And, what they've been saying about no king's protest, they go, no king, no paychecks, no king, no paychecks. That's their slogan, as though you need a king if you want to be paid. That's what Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has been saying over and over again.
And talk about these two. They're not even on same sync. You and I speak. When we speak, we ask each other questions, we review certain information, and we're either generally on board or we, again, have our differences of opinion on the topic. But we're never diametrically opposed to one another. So Trump comes out in a statement in the Oval Office, and he says that we are right now in a trade war with China. And I want our brigaders for a second to let that sink in, because Ben and I have been talking about how we're in a trade war for a long time. All right. And Scott Bessent turns around and says, I spoke to Donald yesterday, in the late afternoon, and we're not, and so on. But, and so, no, your fearless leader, your boss, your supreme leader, your ruler, your dictator, whatever you want to call him, Scott, turned around and said that we are in a trade war with China. And it makes a major, major difference. Even they don't know what the hell they're talking about. But the only thing that you need to do is follow the talking points memo that you get every single day. So they're not really secretary of the Department of War or, secretary of the Treasury. What they all are, they're all cosplaying roles. They're a bunch of actors reading off of a script, plain and simple. They're not working for the American people. They're working to fulfill the script for the movie. And let me be very clear. This movie does not have a happy ending.
Why I start the episode talking about this $20 trillion Ponzi scheme that continues is because structurally, bit by bit, the country is losing its foundation. And so the question becomes, at what moment does it even get worse? At what moment does this Ponzi scheme stock market start reflecting the experiences of what 99% of Americans are actually living? I mean, you have this market reflecting this AI boom, this insider trading bonanza as well, because the SEC there's no oversight taking place anymore. So you see these very unusual patterns when the market looks this way. And meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Cohen, as you know, also said, we need to implement strict price controls on a lot of our products because of the non-trade war with China, apparently. And they're using the language, like, just think about what they're saying. They're saying price controls on products, which is actually kind of communism. Donald Trump the other day was saying he speaks to Hamas and told them, good for you going after the gangs in Gaza. Dude saying,
Sir, we're going to disarm, sir. Sir, we're going to disarm. What they do?
And then he posts on social media today, if you don't disarm, then I'm going to kill you. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, he literally posts that. He did a social media post. If you continue to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, we will have no choice but to kill you. Thank you for your attention to this matter, to kill them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Via social media. Like, why I feel I'm in a zombie movie. Why I feel I'm in a zombie movie, Cohen, is like I look around and I'm just, other than this Midas Touch community and this Beatdown Brigade, I look around and I go, like, you all realize that Israel and Hamas didn't sign the agreement. Like, is that a pretty big deal to you? Like, Trump doesn't support a two-state solution. Netanyahu doesn't support a two-state solution. Hamas says it's not going anywhere. Smotrich says he's building settlements in Gaza. I'm like, and they didn't sign the agreement. So I'm like, what are we doing? Then even on like, I think it was CNBC or maybe it was Fox Business, I forget, where they were like, They were saying, well, I forget if they were asking, I forget which Trump administration person they were asking. They were saying though, like, but you do know that, you only did 8, it's Brett Baer. You only did 8 trade deals. And you promised 90 in 90 days, but you only did 8. Does that, because they didn't do 8. There's no trade deals. There's zero. There's 0 trade deals. No, there's not a signed agreement that's binding. I'm like, what world are you living in?
The best is when we're talking about even the Hamas, the temporary ceasefire. We're no longer in phase 1 of the 20-point plan. We're already going in.
And did all 20 points already? Sorry.
We're already beginning phase 2. Here's the question, though. What the fuck is phase 1? When did phase 1 finish? Now, all of a sudden, for example, they were supposed to return the 28 bodies of the deceased hostages. I believe they returned 4 the other day. One was actually not even a Jewish hostage that was taken. It was actually a Palestinian. So they're returning that body. And then I understand there's a few more, but Hamas has already told Israel that they don't even know where those other bodies are. Okay. So are you telling me then that the conversations that you had with Hamas, they told you that they have the 28 bodies and that the 28 bodies, but they were lying to you? Shocker, right? How about now we're already, because he doesn't care about the reality. It's all about the headline. And the headline of Trump's 20-point plan goes into phase 2 certainly is a lot better than Hamas executes 7 in Gaza Square with 33 dead since the ceasefire. That's not really the headline that Trump is looking for. And everything. You got to think of this administration as another Mark Burnett production. This is The Apprentice Gaza edition. And if you could start to think in that respect, then you'll understand the comments that are being made and the misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation that they are putting out.
Want to take our first quick break of the show. Reminder, subscribe to Political Beatdown on audio podcast. Subscribe to the Michael Cohen Show YouTube channel by searching at the Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast, wherever you get your audio podcast. Subscribe to Michael Cohen's Substack. It's a great Substack. He's a great writer.
And by the way, thank you guys. You put up one of the greatest thumbnails into that article, which you could also find on the Midas Touch Digital. Thank you.
Check it out. All right, quick break. We'll be right back.
A close friend of mine passed away unexpectedly last year. Really, just a great guy. Been a friend of mine since we were like 11. Took care of everyone but himself. His family, they were left scrambling to figure out bills, the house, everything. And watching that unfold, it hit me hard. It reminded me how fast life changes and how few of us are actually prepared for it. And that's why I looked into Ethos, because getting life insurance, it shouldn't feel like a second job. Ethos makes it fast and simple to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. No doctor visits, no mountains of paperwork. Just answer a few quick health questions online and you get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. I mean, you can get same-day coverage for up to $3 million. And some policies cost as little as $2 a day, billed monthly. More than 3 million families have actually trusted Ethos. And honestly, it's easy to see why. It's peace of mind that you can actually afford. So don't wait until it's too late. Protect your family with life insurance through Ethos. And get your free quote at ethos.com/beatdown. That's ethos, ethos.com/beatdown. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Sample rate for a 10-year term life policy for a 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male may vary. You ever wake up in the morning and realize that your knees are negotiating a peace treaty with the rest of your body? Yeah, well, welcome to getting older. And that's why I started using Bub's Natural Collagen Peptides, because apparently my body forgot how to make its own. And let me tell you something. It actually works. My joints aren't screaming when I get out of bed. My hair actually looks like it belongs to someone who still has energy, and my skin doesn't resemble a legal pad left out in the sun. Bubs isn't just some influencer nonsense. It's clean, third-party tested, Whole30 approved, no sugar, no junk, and it actually dissolves in coffee without that weird sludge at the bottom. I toss a scoop into my morning cup and boom, my day starts smoother, my recovery faster, and I feel like I turned back the clock a few years. Over 100,000 people swear by it, and it's not hard to see why. Plus, Bubs donates 10% of all profits to charity, honoring Navy SEAL Glenn Bub Doherty, a real hero. Yeah, that's who it's named after. So live better longer and get 20% off your entire order right now at bubsnaturals.com with code BEAT. That's Bubs Naturals, BUBSNATURALS.com, and use code BEAT for 20% off. Cleaner collagen and one less reason to groan when you stand up. And when they ask you when you heard about them, tell them Ben and I sent you.
Welcome back to Political Beatdown.
And did you take your peptides this morning?
Absolutely. Look at me, peptide boy.
I was going to say, you're looking sharp.
Looking peptidey.
Skin's looking nice.
Very good. Very good. All right. We got a lot to chat about. So MAGA Mike, he's been holding these just disastrous press conferences. I'm not sure if you caught the one he did today. He also previously said that he was going to debate Jeffries, but then he backed out. I'm not sure if you caught that, where he's like, I'll debate him after the shutdown ends. Let me show you what went down, though, when he's addressing the press. He goes, many of you asked all of us, how does it end? Just listen. This is what his pathway forward is. Here, play this clip.
And so many of you have asked all of us, how will it end? We have no idea. It's up to the Democrats, and they have to decide it. And judging by their outrageous behavior, the Democrats appear perfectly happy to keep the political theater going while real people suffer.
You know,
he truly is a master debater.
I just go back to
something wrong with them all.
School. There's really something wrong with them all. There's something wrong with them all. Here's Johnson talking about the debate with Hakeem, because it was Hakeem's like, let's talk publicly about this. Like, I'm the leader of the Democrats, right? You're the leader of the Republicans in the House. Let's discuss publicly. Now, for those who know, parliamentary systems, which maybe we should have been one. Maybe we could have avoided some of this stuff if we were a Canadian-style parliamentary system, multi-party. But there you actually have the Prime Minister Carney in their house, basically, their house debating the Republican leader, and they go back and forth. And then there's like a shadow foreign cabinet debates the shadow foreign, and it's all done publicly.
Yeah.
Not theatrics. That's part of the system, to air your debates publicly. And look, in our system, that's not what we had, but we did have the parties talking to each other. And so now MAGA Mike refuses, as though this is a crazy request, to talk publicly to the Americans about what's going on with the shutdown with the leader of the other party. Just watch. MAGA Mike first acted like he was going to do it, and then he's like, ooh, my daddy Trump doesn't want me to do it because I'm going to look stupid, so I'm not going to do it. Here, play this clip.
Your reaction to that, as I also note that just came across our desk, Mr. Speaker, that you have agreed to a debate with Jeffries on C-SPAN at an unknown date and time. Is that true?
I'll debate Hakeem Jeffries anywhere, anytime, as soon as we get the government open. He's engaging in political theater and stating absurd things. What he just said is absurd. It is the Democrats who voted to shut the government down. Look at the record. 9 times now, the Republicans in Congress, House and Senate, have voted to open the government, and 9 times Democrats in Congress have voted to close it. All but one. Hakeem Jeffries led the effort in the House. We had this debate on the government shutting down on the House floor. We won. We passed the bill in the House, and we sent it to the Senate. That's where the ball is now. The ball is in the Senate's court, and the Schumer shutdown is causing real pain, and it needs to stop. We need 5 more sensible Democrats in the Senate who care more about the American people than giving health care back to illegal aliens and all the other absurd things that they put in their $1.5 trillion counter.
Yeah. Could you imagine the one thing that he refuses to acknowledge is that each and every one of us, those that are using the Affordable Care Act, those that are using private health coverage, every single one of us are going to see somewhere up to between 50 and 109% increase in the cost of your premiums. I just don't even know how people will end up dealing with that. When you're going to end up, if you are having a hard enough time today paying bills, and you are paying, say, I saw one the other day, and this woman, she was kind enough to actually post her the letter that she got from her company. She was paying for herself, I think it was $58 a month. And now it's going up to $189 a month. So you're talking about three times. She doesn't have it. So now, in order to have the health coverage that she needs because she's of age and she needs to have health coverage, that means she's going to have to do what? Cut back on her food? Can't cut back on your rent, right? You can't cut back on electricity. How many of you received like your electric bills this month alone and you saw like a 60% increase? And I'm trying to say, but why? Why? I haven't done anything. I'm not running. It's not like it's excessively been hot, so I'm running my air conditioning 24/7. It's literally double. And I'm saying to myself, how did this happen? So she's going to cut back on medication, right? She's going to start cutting back on her doctor's visits. Is that really the America that we're supposed to be? Does that make us better? Does that mean this administration is doing good for us? And I would have to say no. And I hope to God that every single one of you that are there with Ben and I right now, all of our brigaders acknowledge the same thing, that everything is out of control and out of whack. And we need to put a stop to this shit once and for all.
You know, I'm on auto debit for my electric bills. And I looked at, I got one of them recently on the auto debit and, and it hits. And I looked at it and I said, what? I said, where did that number, where did that number come from? Because as you budget the auto debit, you expect, okay, well, here's the amount that it's going to be in this range. It wasn't even close to the range, even on the high end. And it's not just that, though, Cohen. Insurance costs are going up. In addition, home insurance costs it's everything that's going up right now. Then, of course, just the day-to-day groceries. The way I described checking out at a supermarket is those beeps, beep, beep, beep. When they swipe the food, it sounds like the life support beeps. That's kind of the way I thought about it. It was like beep, beep. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna take that one today. In the register, I'm not gonna take that one today. I'm not gonna take that one today. Yes, I'll take that one today. Because it's crazy. It's crazy. You
used to spend $100 in groceries and you'd walk out with a full bag.
$260 in the low, like for that 100. It's like $260 right now.
Yeah. I mean, now you walk out with a third of a bag. In fact, you could put that shit in your pocket. You don't even need a bag. It's really not, it's not right. It's not fair. We're all basically being held hostage. We're captives in whatever stupid game is being played by this administration, by the Russell Vaughts, who whispering stupidity into our president's ears, the Stephen Miller, who is echoing the Russell Vaughts stupidity into Trump's ears, and the rest of them, like I said before, they're just cosplaying roles. Yeah, this one's the secretary of this one's the head of that, this one's the secretary of this. It doesn't make a difference. Not one of them is thinking about how to make our lives better, how to reduce costs so that Americans get to live the American dream, that they're able to put money away in the future for maybe their children, grandchildren, or maybe even their own needs as they get older and have to start to wind their lives down. But what do? You don't. Yet right now, we are all living with X. The problem is our expenses are 3X. Well, if you don't have it, what do? And that's the problem. And that's why I constantly say we must continue to grow this network. It is right now, as far as I'm concerned, maybe the only hope that's out there, because everybody is so fractured. They're all worrying about, themselves. There's no unification in message. Look how many people are attached and involved to this network. All right. We need to grow it every single day, bar none. And we need to ensure that in a year from now, those midterm elections, that we ultimately take back the House, the Senate, to ensure our tripartite system of government does not fall, and that we end up being able to get our country back. Plain and simple.
And show you this clip right here from Caroline Leavitt this morning, because this is what MAGA Republicans have been saying. This is what Trump and Johnson, and this is what they've all been saying, some variation about this as we approach the peaceful protests, the No Kings protest this weekend. This is what these individuals who are getting paid by us, I mean, the taxpayers are paying for Caroline Leavitt. Just watch this reckless language that she just throws around as she refers to Democrats. And this is the critical issue right now confronting the country. Here, play this clip.
Proved that the Democrat Party's main constituency are made up of Hamas terrorists, illegal aliens, and violent criminals. That is who the Democrat Party is catering to, not the Trump administration and not the White House and not the Republican Party, who is standing up for law-abiding Americans, not just across the country, but around the world.
She's just a shitty human being. I mean, there's lots of ways I could use much more articulate language. I'm a professor. I could come up with nicer ways or better ways or more articulate ways to say it, but just a real shit human. Like, there's no other way, just a fucking bad person. Like, as you, excuse my language, like as you just watch that, and I think to myself, like, how did this become our country? How can you, as a Democrat, fighting for people's health care, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, trying to get people good educations, doing your best to bring this country together and talk about uplifting people, how are you supposed to negotiate with a vile piece of shit like that? And I don't know how else to describe it. I don't know how else to describe someone like that who gets taxpayer money the way she does and behaves in that manner so recklessly from the position that she has. If you're in the White House before Donald Trump, whether you were Obama, whether you were Biden, whether you were George W. Bush, whether you were Reagan, whether you were George H.W. Bush, whether you were Clinton, you go down the list. You were still even though you would have strong disagreements, you were still the president of the United States. And you didn't act like the other side that has certain ideological differences, in this case, believing that we should focus on giving people health care and better educations and supporting the 99% versus the 1% rich oligarchs.
Do you really want that answer? Do you really want, Ben, stay with me? Do you really want the answer? Because I'm prepared to give it to each and every one of you.
Yeah.
She's nothing more than the Vanna White of the briefing room. She's not there to choose what the phrase is. She's there to turn, to turn the what are those? To turn the letters. Plain and simple. Machine gun lips. All right, is basically she has her talking points, and she's got them memorized. She's got them down packed. This, again, is like a episode of The Apprentice. Nobody was thinking for themselves. Everything was scripted and rehearsed. So when you ask a question, they go to the page. You see Pam Bondi does the same thing. You saw Kash Patel did the same thing. You see every single one of them who go before any of these hearings. They're coming in prepared with the talking points. So while we sit there, and what bothers me the most is one, I understand, Ben, why you and I have to watch it. What I don't understand, why the media even shows up. Why would anybody show up when you know that the information that you're getting to questions, especially if you consider yourself to be a legitimate journalist, why would anybody show up to sit in that briefing room, right? Even if, I don't know, Modi is there or Zelensky's there or whoever might be there, right? Carney may be there. What's the point to go in and to ask a question? Oh, Mr. President, Mr. President, Mr. President. Points, right? Oh, thank you, Mr. President. Blah. Next thing, you're getting an answer that is so off key. It's such a lie. It's such a distortion of the truth, but you're not allowed to ask a follow-up question. So what the fuck's the point? Somebody please tell me, one of our brigaders, what's the point to go into a room to report on a lie? I mean, we're already 10 months into this new term. What's the point already? I wouldn't show up. If I don't care, send somebody else to do it. I'm not going to sit there and be made to look stupid. I'm not going to waste my time. I'd rather do nothing than to report a lie.
We'll take our last quick break of the show. We've still got a lot to discuss. You know, Donald Trump said before that he's the only president in United States history to stop any war. All war. No, there's never been a president who stopped a war. He was asked about John Bolton. We have a copy of the indictment now. 18 counts, 8 counts of unlawful transmission of national defense information, as well as 10 counts of unlawful retention of national defense information, according to the indictment. I'm going to be reading that now, and we'll report more, on that. But it's in connection with his role as the national security advisor for Trump, and they're saying he took what he learned there, wrote a book with information, and then they're alleging he told other people that he knew about secrets that he allegedly learned, which they're claiming were top secret. So we'll dig through that and cover it more on some of our legal channels like Legal AF. Everybody subscribe to the Mea Culpa audio podcast, subscribe to Michael Cohen's YouTube channel, subscribe to Michael Cohen's Substack. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Last quick break of the show. When we come back, 2-finger salute, and I want everybody put in the comments who you think Michael Cohen should give the 2-finger salute to today. Let's see in the comments. We'll be right back.
Yeah, let's see it. You ever read the news and think, I need something stronger than my coffee and cheaper than therapy? Yeah, same. And that's when I reach for IndaCloud. Now, let me tell you something. This isn't your buddy's mystery gummy from a gas station in Jersey. IndaCloud is the real deal. Fully legal, lab-tested THC shipped straight to your door. No fake cards, no sketchy texts that say, I got you, bro. I mean, the first time I tried IndaCloud, I wasn't looking for a party. I was looking for some peace. Just me, the couch, and a gummy. And 5 minutes later, I'm outside, barefoot, staring at the stars like I actually had time for them. It wasn't about getting high. It was about getting out of my own head. They've got gummies for sleep, for taking the edge off, even a beast mode collection if you've had that kind of news day. And over 50,000 people already trust IndaCloud to make the chaos of politics a little less, insane. So if you're 21 or older, head right now to indacloud.co and use code BEAT for 30% off your first order plus free shipping. That's indacloud.co. INDACLOUD.co and use code BEAT for 30% off, free shipping, and sanity in a gummy form. Support the show by filling out their quick survey when you order. And hey, thank IndaCloud for making America's anxiety a little easier to manage. And remember, please enjoy responsibly.
Great ad reads, Cohen.
Enjoy responsibly, Ben.
You do really good ad reads, Cohen. All right, here's what I want to show you. First, this is Donald Trump's response when he was asked a question about John Bolton. Let's play it.
Senator John Bolton was just indicted by a grand jury in Maryland. Do you have a reaction to that?
I didn't know that. You tell me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
The case against him?
That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. Will I what?
Have you reviewed the case against him?
No, I haven't. But I just think he's a bad person. Okay, anybody else?
That would be a lie. I mean, just everything the guy says is a lie. Then right after that, this is what he said about ending wars. Here, play this clip.
You're talking about the whole.
President Zelensky tomorrow.
It just seems to me that, look, it's only a field. That's all I've done in my whole life. I've made deals. I know about deals. I do it well. I don't think any president's ever ended a war, frankly. One war, I did 8 of them, Maria, right? And but I don't know. Did Bush ever end? Do you think Biden ended a war? Biden started wars because he was stupid. But do you think Biden ended any wars? No, I don't know of anybody that ended wars. I ended 8 of them. Now it's going to be 9. I think we're going to have this one done hopefully soon. But I'll be meeting him probably over the next 2 weeks. First, Marco is going to be meeting. And the vice president, as you know, is very much involved. The whole team is involved. Steve Witkoff will be involved. Yeah.
And then he goes on to talk about the wars. And he says he resolved a war between Iran, Pakistan, Iran, and Pakistan. He meant India, but imagine this moment right here if you saw Biden continuously say, I stopped a war between Iran, not a nuclear power yet, although who knows how weak Trump is, and Pakistan. Here, play this clip.
Tariffs are a very important tool for our defense, for our national security. If we don't have tariffs, we're not going to have national security. As an example, if you look at Pakistan and Iran, I told them I was in the midst of negotiating a trade deal with Iran, and Pakistan was going to be in line. And because of tariffs, they all want to negotiate much differently. We were making a good deal. And then I heard that they're shooting at each other. And I said during one of my conversations, are you guys going to go to war? 2 nuclear powers. We are thinking about. I said, here's the deal. You go to war, I'm going to put a 200% tariff. I'm going to stop you from doing any business in the United States. I said it to both of them.
Oh. Ben, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I too stopped a war. I did. I stopped a war. I stopped it between the flying monkeys and the Oompa Loompas. I most certainly did. That war came to an end. You know why? Because I said that if you didn't, I was going to pull back the curtain and I was going to expose the great wizard. And you know what they said? They said, sir, you're right. Please don't do that, sir. It says,
everybody knows how thirsty he is for fake deals. Like that's one of the main things if you're a foreign leader is how do you do a fake deal with him? And you just have to still protect your sovereignty. So some countries are just not willing to demean themselves by doing by doing these fake deals. But he's like, I do a deal, this deal, that deal, this deal, that deal. His deals are not. It's very similar. I mean, you know him well. To the types of. He never believed a deal was a deal in business when you would actually do them. He always viewed the agreement as some way to get out of it. It was never, your word was never, your whatever. What's the expression? Your word was, you don't live by your word.
Your bond.
Yeah, your word's your bond. That was never him. So contracts, litigation, law, it was all part of a game, to play on either weaker people or to just use the good faith of the other side as a weakness. Our government, I'll pass it to you for the 2-finger salute. Our contract is the United States Constitution. And the United States Constitution, I know you have a copy that you carry with you, Cohen. That Constitution is not a big document. It's actually a pretty short document. I mean, if you scroll through it, I mean, it's not a long, extensive agreement, actually, when you actually look at it. And so the American experiment was based on the fact that the Constitution set forth these principles, the separation of powers, but then it was implemented by a good faith leadership that carried out and effectuated these terms. It's why when you look at the amendments, they're not that long.
Yeah, they're not that short.
They're very short, 1 sentence, 2 sentence. When I teach law school, the class is always amazed when I'll go through a collective bargaining agreement, a CBA, in a sports league. and it'll be 2,000 pages, right? They'll detail every aspect of the relationship between labor and management. But then I showed the Constitution of the United States and I go, this is it. It's pretty small when you actually think about it. So what happens, and this is the crisis that we're in, or past the crisis now, as the Constitution's been ripped to shreds, when an entire segment just says we're not doing the good faith game anymore. How do you play soccer with somebody who uses their hands on the ball, right? How do you play baseball with somebody who doesn't go by first base, second base, third base, but just takes the thing and chucks it over? How do you play with someone who doesn't want to engage in the rules within a much more serious matter is our democracy? And that's the fundamental issue. Authoritarianism is easy. Authoritarian, strong man, kills people, rolls. It's easy. It's a simple slope. What do? I don't know. What does the authoritarian tell us? That's the answer. Okay. It's simple.
Yeah.
And historically, that's why it always existed. The idea of a democracy, separation of powers, courts, this all working together in this magnificent symphony to protect freedom, difficult.
Yeah.
It's why we were a beacon and a shining example despite all of our flaws. People are like, how do you do this? Peaceful transition. That's not the historical experience that we have. Doesn't exist anymore, Michael Cohen. Two-finger salute. Who do you give it to?
So obviously our brigaders are asking for it to be everybody in the Trump administration. Others, a pretty significant number, asking for machine gun lips, Levitt, or MAGA Mike Johnson. All three are just simply too easy. I believe, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that the two-finger salute has to go to Shady Vance. The fact that he allowed this GOP young Republican text that got leaked via Politico, 2,800 plus text messages that went on for over 7 months of the most vile rants of racism, sexism, misogyny, xenophobia, homophobia, transphobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, all of it smashed into one gigantic group of assholes. And as fucked up as all of that is, you get Shady Vance steps up there and says, it's just kids. The kids make terrible mistakes and we don't want to do anything within which to mess up their lives. As you said before, Ben, these idiots don't do not a monicum of information checking or research. The ages of these people were 18 to 40, with the bulk of them 29 to 40. And when he turns around and he validates or negates these despicable, vile comments, it's on him. And for that, Shady Vance, once again, on behalf of the Political Beatdown Brigaders, myself, fuck you, you jerk off. You have no business being vice president of this great country.
I'm looking at this another indictment out of Texas. It says, late at the night, the 4th of July, a North Texas Antifa cell of at least 11 operatives. They're just calling, like, you just read these things. They're calling everybody like it's an Antifa indictment, Antifa cell. It's real mischief. It's real mischievous, Soviet style, old school playbook that you saw in these failed Soviet states. The issue with these authoritarian regimes historically also, though, where you try to suppress a public like that, while it's easy at first, at some point, the people don't like being treated like crap. People don't like being lied to. People don't like being dominated and being forced to beg and put in horrible situations, and it's important that we all remember the importance here in the United States of peaceful protests. And I reiterate that over and over and over again, peaceful protests. And as we head to this No Kings, I think it is expected to be one of the biggest mass mobilization in American history. I just think it's reached that moment. I think that all of the
Here, here.
expectations, we're going to see it well exceeded.
Let's make sure that that happens. Make sure you get yourselves out to your local.
Get out there.
Your local.
Don't fall into the traps that Trump and his Gestapo want. Stay peaceful. There, whatever, deep breaths, stay peaceful throughout it. We're in this together, everybody. Everybody hit subscribe here. Let's get to 6 million subscribers.
Yes.
Please subscribe to Michael Cohen's audio podcast, Mea Culpa, wherever audio podcasts are available. Subscribe to Cohen's YouTube
Available
channel.
everywhere, by the way. There's not a platform that it's not on.
At the Michael Cohen Show. Subscribe there. Subscribe to Michael Cohen's Substack. A lot of coverage. Check out the Brother Podcast tonight, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific as well. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time on Political Beatdown. Shout out Beatdown Brigade.